This is the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. This week, we're going to talk about the second half of our Star Wars Celebration Roundup. Talk about some of the more obscure parts. I'm going to show some pictures from some of the weird things and cool things I saw there at Star Wars Celebration. And of course, we'll also talk about the news. This broadcast aspect this week is EPC 289. And playing alongside me is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
Hey, Max. Going pretty well. We just had a pretty phenomenal mandatory fun night where we went to Ravagers, but with a twist, which is we had some people go in early and clear the first 3 bosses. So during MFN, we started with Master Blaster, which is usually where we end with MFN. So it was really fun to be able to take the MFN group through not only Master Blaster, but the Koratani fight. And some people had seen the first part of the op many times in MFN, but had never seen the last boss, so that was really cool. And the last boss did not bug out on us, which I didn't think it would, but a little part of me was worried that it would.
You never know, yeah. You never know.
And so we one-shot both those bosses, so we had some extra time, so we went and did rampages on Boss and Oricon. And that activity almost finished off our conquest for the week, our guild goal, which was medium. So that's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, because I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm still, spending playtime on Osis, and it's good not to have to. Not that I worry about conquest, but it's nice to have it, sort of sorted. You don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Not that I was worrying about it, but yes. So, so like I said, I've been messing around on Osis. Last week I think I got 2. No, I got 1 item that I could use from the boxes, so I'm pretty chuffed about that. And this week, looking forward to see what I got out of my boxes this week.
Right.
And
And we all
and
got
I've
some
been
crystals last week because we did
yes,
some world bosses.
that's right. We
Or
did.
I guess that was 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago. That was Friday 2 weeks ago. But I mean, you probably did world bosses anyway. But that's helping round out that
No, that
that
was
250.
no, that was no, that was this past Friday. We went. You're right, Mega. Friday night we went and did the world bosses and the Hive Queen. And you're right.
Oh, right.
Because I had already done the crystal quest on my trooper, but yeah, then we did on the imp side. So I got 2 crystals last week, and some weeks I don't do the world bosses, and then I get 0 crystals. So it's a good week.
It's a good week. Good week.
Yes. And so I also have been playing since we had the double XP too. I've been leveling. Very casually leveling one of my characters that's like 60, in the low 60s, and now she's like 69, almost 70, just by doing, Nar Shaddaa Rampage 1 and a heroic quest. It really adds up fast. So conquest and leveling hand in hand.
Excellent.
So that was, yeah. How about you, Max? What have you been up to?
I've still been doing the OSA stuff. Last week was the nice timed weekly for the week. It was get 8 medals in a PvP match. And last time I came around, I didn't even know if you could get 8 medals in an arena, but you can easily get 8 medals in an arena if you win. So I think when I did it last time, whatever group I was with, we lost, and then I didn't even get 8 medals, and I was like, oh, I hope I don't get an arena again because that's a pain. In most of the other war zones, you can get 8 medals easily, whether you win or lose. In an arena, it's probably pretty hard to do it unless you win. But then if you win, you get a bunch of extra medals for winning as well. So I finished it really quickly on a couple of characters. One of them because it popped into an arena. So I got crystals for the world bosses on Friday, which was cool. I got crystals for that. I did get an item, I believe. Yeah. So for my commando, I got an extra set piece, which I already had on my main, but I wanted it on the alt so I could use those crystals to upgrade it to 258. So I was able to upgrade the belt to 258. I can read all this. I'm not we're on the PTS tonight, so I can't read you all my stats, unfortunately. I know that's gonna upset you
He
and,
he
and
cannot
ruin a.
read. He cannot read when he's on the PTS. He cannot read.
I also cannot read, but no, my character. This isn't. I don't have the stats, like up to date stats on this character copied to the PTS. So,
And we won't be visited by Big Fat Streaker either, sadly.
uh, if Big Fat Streak was really creative, it probably could happen. Although you'd have to find us. We're not. We're sort of on the PTS, which we'll talk about a little bit because it comes up in the news, but we're sort of off on the end of the map, just checking out some of the scenery, which is quite cool on Dantooine. So I got on the PTS. I did check that out some. That this has been cool to look at. Um, and well, and I was on the AIE podcast on Sunday talking a little bit about Star Wars Celebration, the AIE meetups there. So our Greater Guild AIE has a bi-weekly podcast that mostly goes over sort of all the latest news from AIE stuff in all of our game divisions. So it's really cool. It's done by a few of our leadership that have done a good job over the years to talk about what's up in every division. And then they usually have a guest on from one of the divisions. And Corley and I were on mostly just to talk about Star Wars Celebration because it was so awesome. So we're going to go through a little bit of what we talked about on the AIE podcast tonight as well, the stuff that we didn't cover last week in this podcast, but in much more detail tonight. And yeah, and then, as I said, Conquest and PTS and that kind of stuff. So that's me. That's you. What's up in the news?
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
So first up in the news, they have continued the conversation through a series of blog posts about Onslaught itemization. And part of what the conversation is, and this was continued, we'll mention Kogas's live stream, although they didn't do their live stream this week. They talked about it there as well. They are talking about trying to get a bunch of input from people. What kind of set bonuses do you think they should have? And remember, they've added the new tactical item slot and the tactical item that is going to give you potential boost to an ability or an ability of its own. So they love those ideas. And apparently Eric has talked about, he's got folders of ideas. He's got a notebook that he's starting in some digital way to track different kinds of ideas for both set bonuses and for tactical items. Get those going. I saw some of that conversation going on in the Kogas stream. Kogas did a great interview with Charles and Eric live on Friday. And part of the conversation in the chat room chat, people were putting their ideas in and they were tossing ideas back and forth. And a lot of the ideas are coming out as, hey, wouldn't it be great if my dots were 0.5% stronger? Or wouldn't it be great if my stuns, lasted a second longer? Or my soft stun was a hard stun. I would like that as for my PvP ability. And I thought, boy, those are kind of boring. And where I think we should go with this, and I think those are the good kind of things to have for set bonuses. And then you could have a set bonus that's tied to more PvP-ish kind of stuff and more of a dot kind of set bonus, more of a burst kind of set bonuses. You could have set bonuses tuned to different types of activities that way. What I think then the tactical item should be used for would be to go crazy. And this is where I think you could do things like invent some new side weird thing. And I really like it, and this works this way in some other MMOs here and there, where it has a really awesome graphical effect that's part of it. Like if I have a tactical item that gives me an ability once every 2 minutes, I spawn an astromech and I get to kick it. And I kick it into whatever I'm fighting, and that's my max, ejects the astromech ability. And once every two, and it doesn't have to do a lot of damage, but it's whatever, it's an equivalent of 1% damage or whatever. But that's the kind of thing that I think that if you want to stretch, if you want to get crazy, that's where you should be thinking. So that was one that I had, something with the astromech. Either it pops up and fights for me or something like that. And the other one was for my lightsaber wielders. What if, once every 2 minutes, you like pulled a hidden blaster out of your back pocket and you like popped off an extra blaster shot. You know,
Like that scene in Raiders,
yeah, yeah. Raiders of the Lost Ark, the big
except
flourish,
you
big,
shoot instead of getting shot. Yeah.
big weapon flourish. You line up for the big lightsaber battle. You whip out a blaster and shoot him in the face. That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, Ray. In fact, maybe we'll even show the screenshot. Ray's got a lightsaber and a blaster by her side. Nothing like a ancient weapons, hokey religions. Nothing beats a good blaster by your side. So that's the kind of thing. Graphical, cool. Sure, maybe it adds some damage, but do it in a dramatic way. I think I may have mentioned it last week. I've mentioned it a couple times. In fact, I mentioned it directly to Brett when I was talking to him, one of the lead developer or lead designer for Star Wars. I mentioned one of the these kinds of set bonuses that they have in Elder Scrolls Online, and it's called Murder of Crows, and it's like once every 2 minutes, a whole bunch of crows start flying around my Nightblade and do AOE damage to everything around me. So that's what I
Right.
like. It's cool. It's graphical. That kind of thing. So Seema, if you had to pick one thing before we move on to the next news item,
Well, I mean, I
what do you think?
I have one that I really, really, really want, but I have others that I want too. But I like this because it's visual, like you said, but not quite as glamorous. But I would like a tactical where it would change my rocket out to rocket me forward instead of backwards.
Okay. Yeah.
So
But
that would change my gameplay a little bit. It would change the people around me if it was a PvP situation because they wouldn't know which way I was going to go. And plus, I would like it better because the way I started out thinking is, since I've been Merc healing and Commando healing, I miss from my days of Sage Sork healing. I miss the sort of perks of that class, like extricate and force speed. And I was thinking, what if I could have some kind of extricate on my Merc, or what if I could have some kind of limited long cooldown ability to drop combat like I can on my operative healer
yes,
as a Merc.
I like that. I like all of those. But I think let's push them to do it in some dramatic way. I know it'll take a little bit of extra development effort, but like Rocket Out could be changed to like Rocket Out Malfunction or something, and a
Right.
big
And I'm riding on a
explosion happens in your back, and you're supposed to be rocketing out, but like this big cloud of black smoke explodes out your back, and you rocket forward 15 feet. That would be awesome.
yeah.
And I do like, and that was another one that I was sort of noodling on in the background, was some sort of maybe not necessarily stealth, but the ability for the Force users to hit an ability that turns you into a Force ghost with some effect. Maybe it drops you out of combat, maybe it makes you harder to hit, but like something Force ghost is another one of my abilities that I'm brainstorming on. I'm working on.
Yeah.
So that's that. Yeah. So if anyone else out there has cool ideas for those kinds of cool abilities, let's get crazy and then let's get all those to Eric.
Yeah.
Send them to us too, because I want to hear what you guys come up with. But let's get them to Eric and let's
Yes.
really get
I
creative.
mean, just go wild because, we don't know what they can and can't do. Let them decide what they can't do. Don't censor yourself. Just what do you want?
Yeah. And don't be like 0.5% more damage to my blaster shot. Well, fine. Do that if you really think that's important, but don't send that to me because I will. All right. So what else is up in the news?
Let's see. What is else? Okay. Oh, so BioWare was going to have a live stream, but then it was a no-go because they had a power outage and then they had a fiber cut. And I mean, they couldn't catch a break, but they were going to talk about, Eric posted what they were going to talk about, which was basically Dantooine coming in 5.10.3 and that it was going to be a pirate event there. And that also, which I think this is cool, is that in between events, when the pirates are not there, it's going to be a much more relaxed and pastoral setting So it's going to have this sort of yin and yang thing when the event's going on, which it is right now. We're on the PTS, a lot of pirates everywhere.
Right.
But this is also going to be a cool place to go, um, possibly to do some gathering, um, maybe to do some RP. I don't know.
Oh,
And then they
good
were
one.
also, yeah, they were also going to talk about Onslaught, which they were basically going to go over what they had already revealed in the cantina, but I guess in a little bit more live streamy way. So not new info, but just gathering it all together and presenting it in the live stream. And we have talked about what's coming in Onslaught already, but I'm sure we'll be touching on that again many times.
Yeah, I really like that idea of. Well, I like that they're keeping Dantooine as a planet and it's sticking around. It's not just like a thing that pops
Yeah.
in for the event and disappears. And I kind of like the idea that when the event's going on, it's an event thing. And when the event's not going on, then the event's not there. And maybe it's more pastoral. Maybe it's just a place to visit. And having you wouldn't want to trivialize the gathering, but having another place to do some gathering in grade 10 mats, that kind of thing, which is what the nodes are here right now, that's kind of cool.
I the reason I did that is because I'm not completely convinced that when the event's not here, you're going to be able to come here and gather with no mobs anywhere. We'll see.
Yeah,
I'll believe it when I see
right,
it.
right. Yeah, so it probably can't be nothing, but maybe it won't be all these pirates. I mean, it is pretty heavy with pirates right now. But yeah, so that is cool. Also up in the news, 5.10.2a, the patch went in earlier this week without, well, the update went in. So, but they just had to do it on the back end, server restart. And it was mostly bug fixes, nothing all that interesting that I saw as part of it. Fix this weird issue where the platforms don't appear during the SOA encounter. I never heard of that for the last 7 years incessantly.
I guess it came
I guess
back.
it came
It
back
came back
because
recently.
it was gone, but yeah, it
That
came back
was really disturbing when it first happened.
at launch when that was happening. But a few small things like this were added in. Nothing that seemed all that dramatic to me. But yeah, so that went in 5.10.2a. But more dramatic than 5.10.2a. Oh, which you sort of covered
Uh,
a little bit already.
yeah. I mean, we just add that obviously Dantooine is live on the PTS. This is where we're standing right now. The event itself is here, and I haven't played through it, but we will play through it this week, and we'll talk about that next week. But um, we won't have this whole story, as I understand it, until it goes live.
Yeah, I guess parts of the story are available now. Parts of the event part of the story, but none of the cutscenes are available yet.
Yeah.
And then Charles also made this point of the fact that the Jedi Enclave is so the Jedi Enclave. I think in terms of lore of what's going on Dantooine is a big deal, but it does not exist on the map of Dan. It's not part of the current release of Dantooine, and it's not gonna be for the launch of Dantooine. But that was another one where Charles said, you know, we know that it's a solid part of the lore. We know that it's something you'd potentially like to see. How would you like to see it?
We know it's there. Yeah.
Do you want it as part of the event? Do you want it just to show up as part of something else? Do you want it to be a stronghold?
A stronghold.
Oh. So again, more ideas, a lot of interaction with the dev team in the dev tracker, in the forums lately, and other places as we've seen. Jump on this, take advantage of it. Let's have some fun having those conversations, and get your ideas out there. We'll see what we can do. And to wrap up and round out the news, May the 4th is coming soon. May the 4th be with you. There will be a sale, as they tend to have. And the top thing off the list, the only thing that was super interesting to me, because I always try to keep an eye out for it when it happens, is 50% off all collection unlocks. I tend to watch for that and do my collection unlocks in batches when this kind of thing happens. So there's that. Keep an eye out for it.
Yeah,
In
that's the most exciting thing for me too on that list. But then
yeah, in general.
35% off all available mounts might be appealing too.
Yeah, I mean there is some
I'll have to look at
other
that.
stuff in here that's not it's not trivial. The other things that they're offering, which is 40% off Stronghold decorations. You could get something cool you've been waiting for. 5% off all mounts, and 50% off all appearance options and appearance designer changes. So if you were really wanting to, it's not in the game yet, but if you were really wanting to change some new race, like we're going to have a new race in September, but if there was one that you had been waiting to change into and you need to unlock and change into it, you maybe got a shot to do that now. Hey, Guild Heraldry is in the game, which we knew. Guild Heraldry is not in AIE yet, but starting today, did a little work over the weekend. Me and some of the officers took a look at what we might want to do for Guild Heraldry, and we figured we'll come up with some baseline designs that match up what the guild brand is, because we have some professional graphical designers that are part of the guild that developed like our logo and how it looks and the color strategy and that kind of thing. So we can't have exactly that in the game. We wanted to get something sort of close. So we put up a blog post, we put it in Discord with some voting buttons. We've got 3 different options with a variant for each that matches for Republic versus Imperial. So we got the blue ones for the Republic, the red ones for the Imperial. We picked a logo that's kind of like our dice logo because the die has been cast. That's what Alea Iacta Est means. And we picked a few backgrounds and a color scheme. Votes are up there in the forums. Everybody's pushing to get their favorite picked out. Get your votes in. We'll make it live in the next couple days. I do like seeing those Guild Heraldry icons and banners show up in the game. I didn't realize it was going to happen this way. In fact, on the PTS, you can see it's just the black circle because we have nothing. But I like seeing it next to your name in game, and I like seeing it on the conquest interface next to all the guilds that are doing their conquest stuff. It's cool. It adds a little bit more flair to the interface than I expected it to be.
And we touched on what we did for April and for Mega. Mega for May is going to be on the 11th, and I believe, don't hold me to it because, Swiss cheese for brains, but I believe it's going to be a World Boss crawl on the pub side because we did last time on the imp side.
That is what Marcus has threatened, so that sounds good to me. I was saying that maybe we should bring back Plug DJ theme nights as part of MFN or Mega or both. We used to fire up Plug DJ. And then
what goes with World Bosses, 80s music?
I don't know. That's a good question. 80s. 80s music goes with everything.
You're right. That's ridiculous. It's obviously 90s music.
Well, I'm thinking like World Bosses. Maybe it has to be like world music, like
oh yeah,
like Afropop and and
right.
Yeah, so I don't know, but
I like that idea.
But 80s music maybe.
Because of the big hair.
Yeah, but yeah, that maybe like it has to be like some only platinum records, mega stars to match sort of the World Boss theme. That would work too. In community news, as we mentioned, Kogas did a great thing by pulling in Charles and Eric on Friday. So even though BioWare wasn't able to do a stream of their own on Thursday, Kogas did a live stream on Friday and interviewed Charles and Eric. And they talked about most of what they talked about in the Cantina and in these blog posts for Onslaught and Dantooine. But it rounded out the discussion a little bit. As I said, they were talking about things like get your ideas for what the set bonuses might be and how that might work. And it led to some of the questions that were coming back and forth in the chat room, led to some of those clarifications that you can see in the dev tracker. So that was pretty cool. Good job, Kogas, doing that. I know he was he put some extra work into to make sure he could make that happen, and it came out pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoyed watching it.
Yes.
I think yeah, I think it was a good format having him ask questions of them rather than them just going over their prepared slides. So I liked it.
Right.
Also, shout out to the chat room. Thank you guys for coming tonight and also contributing to the ebb and flow of reason. I like Starry Saber's idea um, to have a possible tactical could be a bonus where you summon the ghost of Darth Mar to assist you.
Oh,
I'm
there's
like,
a way to get
yeah,
Darth.
that's a
That
good
is a
one.
good one. That
But
is a
the
good
chat
one.
room continues to give us good ideas and participate with us and also help us with sound checks in the beginning. So thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you very much. And special thanks. The chat room gives a special thanks to SWTORista and the SWTOR fan community. On behalf of the SWTOR fan community and the work that SWTORista did there, BioWare has offered some extra game codes. We'll be giving out a special game code tonight. That's the result of that. So that is awesome. Thank you very much. And with that, let's talk about. So we didn't talk about it last week. We're going to get to a little bit of what happened around the panels and the stuff in Star Wars Celebration, including the trailer for Episode 9, which sounded a little like this at the very end.
No one's ever really gone.
Epic.
Yes.
That is just epic. I was, J.J. Abrams, I think, may just be trolling us with that. The Emperor may not actually
No.
be a character. Maybe somebody has a dream at some point, and that's how it works out.
I don't think so.
Yeah, but
JJ, don't do that to us.
and I think the whole trailer was sort of designed that way. You don't really, I mean, I do not. I mean, I don't mind spoilers, mostly because I get spoiled very easily. Too many trailers these days. I watch the trailer and I go, okay, well now I know exactly what happens in the movie, which I'll still find. Now I don't mind because I can guess everything that's going to happen and I'm usually right. And then I go watch the movie and I just watch it unfold. I mean, it's fine. It's like watching episodes 1, 2, 3 of Star Wars. I knew that, Anakin becomes Darth Vader. It's not, I said that, yes, that was spoiled, but that's okay. The episode 9 trailer, and it's same thing with the previous episodes. They show some things that get you excited, but I have no idea what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I mean, you did get a tiny bit of a spoiler. In fact, here, let me show it up again, the banner and the fact that, but which you sort of got at the end of the last movie, the fact that Kylo Ren has put his helmet together. You got the fact that he was getting back to his self, his dark side self, after the things broke down between him and Rey at the end of episode 8 anyway. So that's not that crazy or that weird. Sorry, I'm not getting my slideshow working here. So yeah, so here, this picture of him in the big banner at the very end, the fact that you see him welding his helmet back together, okay, that's a tiny bit of a spoiler, but it's almost more of a costume spoiler, because as I say, we knew that he was sort of turning back to his dark side way, and he got really sort of angry at Luke Skywalker there at the end of episode 8. So fine. We got a little bit of a spoiler in the trailer that there's a new droid character, but we don't know anything about it. It's not all that, nothing's all that spoiled. So I think we're just fine in terms of spoilers and how that's going. In that it's not very spoiled at all. So what did we talk about last time? We talked about the AIE meetup. We talked about, cool stuff like the SWTOR fan community booth that we had and all the cool stuff that went on there. What we didn't get to too much though was what was going on all around the rest of and we talked a lot about the cantina and the patches of and what BioWare talked about there. The panels were a big thing, obviously. So that's a big part. And this isn't my picture, but this is a shot. This is my picture. I was standing next to Daisy Ridley, and I said, "Daisy, you think I should take a shot of the crowd?" And she's like, "Yeah, that'd be cool." So I said, "Why don't you take it? Because you're a little bit shorter than I am." So anyway, so not my picture, but a lot of people, you had to get into the drawing. The episode 9 panel came out really well, I thought. I only watched it on the stream, but I thought it worked well, and they introduced all the characters, and they all got to talk, and they all had good personality, and they were a good part of the event. This guy, I forgot his name, who plays the new Chewbacca, he is enormous, man, isn't he? Look at him. He's just giant. There's all these like
Yeah, he is.
size people. And then there's wow. Anyway, that was cool, and it was cool to have BB-8 and R2-D2 out there. And then they played the trailer, and I'm not gonna play the trailer, but I really like the trailer just because it's enough to get everybody excited and tease you, but it didn't give a whole bunch away. I really like Rey's little force jump battle trick stunt
I did
move.
too.
It's just so cool looking. And then, and then at the very end, Ian comes out because his voice is in there at the end of the trailer. He comes out on stage, and the only thing he says, and he has to like stop himself from cracking up, but he comes out on his stage, and in the Emperor voice, he says, "Roll it again." And then they rolled the trailer again. Awesome. So fine. So definitely check out the panels. There's the main panels, there's side panels. I didn't go to many panels at all. I did see some on the streams. I missed out on some I think that I would have liked to have seen. Charles Boyd was in a panel. So there's a lot of that kind of thing going on. That's something to remember if you ever go to a Star Wars Celebration. The surprise, I think, was at least probably, I think, almost equivalent to the hype around the episode 9 panel was the panel for The Mandalorian. So The Mandalorian, this is the new series coming out. This was a big deal, and this was a huge buzz at Star Wars Celebration. The people, they didn't stream the panel. They didn't show off, and I think you can get like, badly captured versions off of people's phones of the stuff that went on. But
no, they streamed it.
No, well, maybe
They streamed.
they streamed it and then they
panel.
took it down. Because you can't get any official versions of the trailer and the clips and that kind of stuff that they showed.
Okay. They streamed the panel, but in the panel stream they blacked out the trailer.
There, okay. Which I don't know why. I think that's kind of weird, but
I don't know why either.
Unless they're just trying to save it, because I'm sure they're gonna have a ton of promotion in the summer. So they'd like to save the official launch of the trailer. They still wanted to show it at Celebration, but they want to save the official launch of the public launch of the trailer till later, or things like that, maybe.
I don't know.
Regardless, it's looking really cool, and there's a lot of hype around it. So much so that everybody's got that $7 all warmed up in their hands for month 1 of the Disney subscription service, all ready to go for November. When is it launching? I think it's November is when that's launching.
Yeah, I just get the feeling that, well, it feels like the hype for Mandalorian is equal to or greater than the hype for episode 9. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, but just in my circle of friends, which is not a great sample, but
no, but I think you're right. I think you're right, and I kind of gotta say, even for me personally, it's probably about equal. Sure, I liked all the episodes. I liked episode 8. I don't think any episode was ruined. I like episode 1, so so there you go. I'm looking forward to episode 9, but I'm kind of looking forward to The Mandalorian even a little bit more. Just that format and the fact that it's going to potentially be a continuing series and ongoing content and something new that's going to continue. I kind of like that. I'm kind of hyped
I'm
up for it.
more hyped about it since I watched the panel because for me, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni,
Yeah,
they feel to me like the real deal.
right.
Like they really love Star Wars, and I feel like this story is in good hands.
I
Like
agree. That's
just
a
the
good
way they
point.
talked about it. They mentioned one of the first things that Jon Favreau said is that they're going to be bringing some stuff in from the EU, and I'm like, he even
Ooh.
knows there's an extended universe and that we call it EU. It's like, I mean, these guys are real. They're the real
You
thing
had my
to me.
attention. Now you have my interest. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. Yeah, and yeah, so that's good to good evidence that they know what they're doing and they know what the deal is. And that opens up a whole bunch of possibilities for, for the hardcore fans to get some really nice fan service by bringing in some of the
So
EU stuff.
Zen in the chat room says episode 9 for me. I'm anxious. I'm hyped for episode 9 too. I loved the teaser. I love that move she makes, and I like Rey. I never was against Rey, so I want to find out her story, more about her story.
And I like the title, Rise of Skywalker.
Yes,
That's
I do
kind of a
too.
big,
I love the title.
that's a nice little teaser. The Last Jedi sounded like the end of something in the last one, and now the rise of that sounds like something you'd have to finish out the series, and then the rise of Skywalker. That's an interesting spin. So there's a lot of speculation.
Yeah.
It opens the door for a ton of speculation, which makes it really funny, really fun. But yeah, I love the trailer too. Okay, other things at Star Wars Celebration. We talked a little bit about it last week. I showed you some things, but ton of cosplay. Cosplay was definitely excellent, and they kept doing these. Definitely any of the clubs like 501st. What's the Republic version of 501st, which is the Rebel Legion or whatever it is. They would have scheduled photo ops where they would go out on the steps or somewhere. Hopefully, they weren't doing it on Monday in the snow. But this was, I think this, again, not my picture. Just a couple of these aren't mine. This is another not my picture in this group. I just pulled off of somebody's photo on the internet. But good to do it at night with all the lightsabers lit up, with all the dark side characters on the one side, with the dark side blades, the red blades, and the light side characters on the other side. Pretty iconic. Oh, this guy's a smuggler. I was wondering. Look, this guy's a smuggler, and he's got a
He's
thermal
got his
detonator and a
laser
blaster.
pistol out, yeah.
Wow,
His blaster.
that's pretty neat. How neat is that? But cosplay all over the place. This is one of my pictures. There was displays of people's costumes that they weren't wearing. There was, like costume reproduction just from fans on display. Tons of people all over the place wearing costumes. And I think I said this last week. I did kind of felt left out not having a costume, and you get that feeling. And I'd say there was a much higher percentage of people with costumes than I had expected. It's still only about 20% or 30%. I figured it would be more like 5 to 10%. So in the fact that it's like 25% of people, that's a lot to have like 1 in 4 people around you wearing costumes. You sort of feel like you could do it and you could be part of. You want to be part of that. It was really cool.
Yeah.
A lot of really cool costumes, a lot of really funny costumes, a lot of costume mashups from other genres. The Rick and Morty, the Rick Stormtrooper. Corley had a good picture of the Rick Stormtrooper that he took. A lot of really great stuff. Zen, as I said, we had pictures of Zen last week. I think I've got a picture of him in his Jedi costume here. That was really good. He could be part of the Rebel Legion and his amazing lightsaber blades. So really, really, really good stuff. And it made me want to put my own costume together. So maybe that'll happen someday. Speaking of costumes, There was, oh, here, I'll just show you this other costume while we're talking about costumes, because this is somewhat unrelated. Here's a hilarious costume. I thought Miss Teen Alderaan. She was sort of all like blown up and exploded there. But then you see, like, there's this really cool droid, and I saw them putting the costume on. It was pretty intricate to even get it on. And then here's just this trooper, this custom trooper outfit over here, and really, really well done costumes.
Right.
Now, there was
Amazing.
a secret, not a secret, but you talk about other things that are on the show floor, and which had one costume in it, which was this costume, which is actually a costume and not a prop. But the rest of this whole area downstairs was the droid room. So I definitely wanted to talk about this, and I've got a bunch of really cool pictures of the droid room. But this one right here, this is actually a costume. The Jawa sitting in the middle of this diorama of like all of the droid junk and a bunch of prop Jawas standing around. One of them was a real person in Jawa costume. And it would just sit there very still, but every once in a while it would move a little bit. And everybody thought it was fake or thought it was a prop, but then it would move. And I kept telling my kids, no, it's real, it's real. And then it
It's
like
a great
scratched its
it's a
face.
great Jawa. I mean, the robe and the eyes just barely showing. It's great.
Yeah, it's really cool. But then the rest of this room down there was this droid room, and the rest of the droid room is dedicated to fans bringing in their prop droids that they put together and showing them off. And I don't know what you got to do to get it in there, because I think they had over 100 droids. Like, there's probably 30 R2D2s, custom made, some of them motorized, some of them lighting up, very detailed replicas. DP Roberts says there was 117 droids down there. Really cool stuff. Here's a whole line of R2D2s. It was a little hard to find. It was sort of buried on another floor. It was really cool when you did get down there though, and just check out all this hard work that people had done. Is that the only pictures I have? Maybe I didn't pull all of them. I had another picture
I watched this.
of a cardboard box that somebody was packing up, and we all stood
I
around
watched
it
this
and
one
looked at it.
panel that was the sort of the engineer who was responsible for sort of the manufacture side of BB-8 and the puppeteer who was responsible for BB-8. And they were saying that they had 7 different BB-8s for different kinds of shots.
Okay. All right.
And yeah, it was fascinating.
So if you were looking for any, these were the droids you were looking for. Yes, thank you, chat room. So that was cool. And then there was some other stuff. So a couple of the other sort of out there kind of things that I thought were sort of out there and interesting, but still sort of cool and fun. There was this. I don't know who sponsored it. I probably could have just taken a better picture of the signs right here, probably explained who sponsored it, but it was this diorama. And this diorama build setup was just people putting this sort of Imperial Republic war battle diorama together, very detailed, and you could volunteer to help. And it was huge. It took up this huge area on the show floor, and they had to have like, all these tables sort of put together and like places where they could like stand in there to help keep putting more and more pieces together. But all right, that was cool. It was just something to display, something to do. There's just a bunch of these kinds of things at Star Wars Celebration that I never expected. Here's another thing. If you have a vehicle that is tricked out to be sort of Star Wars-ish, then apparently you could sign up to bring your vehicle in and park it on the show floor. And there's a bunch of these cars that were either painted up, or here's like a car that was painted up like BB-8. Here's sort of the Republic fighter car, Imperial cars. I mean, here's a close-up of this one. This is the paint job on this is really cool. There's this Imperial truck. I don't know what this is supposed to represent, but it's pretty cool. Pretty cool 501st Legion truck. And just, okay, so there you go. If that's your thing, if you've got a car, Seema, is your car painted up to look like Star Wars?
Yeah, totally. That is my car, actually.
Ah, okay. Well, okay. I should have taken a picture of the back. I only pulled selected pictures. I didn't want to show it as it wasn't like a slideshow from my visit to Chicago. But inside
Right.
inside the back trunk lid up here, if you looked up under the trunk lid, there was a backlit, a frozen Luke's Han Solo in carbonite. It was
Nice.
really cool.
Nice touch.
In addition to tricked out cars, there was also a couple spaceships, full-size replicas on the show floor. So there was the full-size X-Wing and close to full-size, I think it was a little smaller than full-size, close to full-size, TIE Fighter. Maybe it was full-size. It just sort of seems the place where you would sit seemed smaller than I had expected up close. But all of this stuff was just sort of set up. I mean, there's a long line for this one that's sort of set up for you to come up and take pictures with it. It was pretty cool, and tons of places to take pictures. And I guess a lot of them were set up by 501st Legion. A lot of them were set up by some of the other clubs. But like here, the Emperor's chair with a couple Imperial guards or Imperial officers. And you could stand in line and go sit down and get your picture, take your own picture, have someone take a picture of you. Here's one. I think this was 501st Legion. And I guess it was set up so if you wanted to donate, you could, but you didn't have to. Anybody could just come up and take some pictures.
Yeah.
There's a replica of Jabba the Hutt.
And those are probably volunteers, those two Imperials.
Yeah, right.
No, I don't know that, but I mean, I'm just speculating.
Yeah, with the Emperor's chair. Yeah, I'm sure they're just, they were just standing there the whole time. So maybe that's like their rig. They're probably just fans, and this is their deal, and that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. So yeah, and then there were photo ops. Anybody who was wearing a costume seemed very happy to be part of a photo op. So if you wanted to walk up to them and take pictures of them, like if you were just a couple regular guy stormtroopers, Hawaiian cool guy stormtroopers, you want to take picture with Darth Vader, you could walk up and Darth Vader would get his picture with you. So this is a combination of traditional
Yes.
cosplay.
I'm laughing because what we're looking at here is a full Darth Vader, but then there's 3 stormtroopers that have the helmets and then Hawaiian shirts and Hawaiian shorts.
Yeah. Boat shoes, Hawaiian shirts, and they were making the hang loose sign, and they were all together. They were walking the show floor, just hanging out. All day.
They're comfy stormtroopers.
Apparently. So here you can get sort of just look around the background, and costume. Here's what is that? I didn't even see that. What is this? It's like some sort of fox person with a lightsaber. It's just costumes all over the place. So costumes, huge part. Photo ops, a huge part. A lot of really cool stuff. And if you wanted to, you could probably have bought your own costume too. So the biggest part of the show floor was the shops. And a lot of them were sort of like Etsy level shops of, here's the stuff that I've made, or art that I've made, or custom t-shirts that I've made. There were a bunch of shops with more merchandise. They like this is like Funko Pop merchandise, and so there's a bunch of those kinds of shops and stands and that kind of thing too. So there was a lot of that, and then there were a couple of the really big vendors, like Hasbro was there and Lego was there. Lego had a very big area on the floor.
When you hear people say that there was a long line for the shop, are they talking about this whole area here, or was there a separate thing that was a sponsored store?
And I didn't even go into it, but across the hall was the official store. So the official store, the first day, had like a 6-hour line. I don't know why people bothered to go in to stand in a 6-hour line. That's crazy. because by the second day at 11 a.m. when the episode 9 panel started, there was no line. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that apparently that's when Corley went. Corley got in, just walked right in at 11 a.m. on the second day. But yeah, no, on the show floor, all of the show floor stuff, it was probably 50 booths of just any Star Wars memorabilia, merchandise, gear, wear, props that you could think of. You could imagine there was just a shop for it. But yeah, Lego's setup was really cool. In addition to just they had little Lexan cases with some of the famous Star Wars sets all put together. Those were cool. And then they had periodic events, and one of them was really cool. They gave you a Lego set, a Star Wars Lego set, and then they had between you and the pile of Legos, they set up a little barrier, so you couldn't watch your hands or watch the pieces, and you got 15 minutes, and it was you versus another person to basically blind behind that barrier, put as much of the Lego set together as you could, and then everybody else is watching you do this, obviously, and then you get to see how far you got after 15 minutes.
What a cool idea.
Yeah, it was cool and clever, and a bunch of that kind of Lego stuff going on was quite cool as well. Another big thing on the show floor was the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge display. So Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is the Star Wars exhibit going into Disneyland and Disney World that will be opening, I believe, later this summer. Chat room, I don't know if you know exactly when it's gonna open, but they're finishing it up, they're wrapping it up, and in both Anaheim and in Orlando, it's coming out. It's gonna be around. DP Roberts is saying potentially even opening in June. Apparently, especially it sounded like at least for the first few weeks or the first month, it's basically by lottery only. I know people that have. One woman I was talking to has season tickets, and still won't get in. I forgot who I was talking to that was saying that. Maybe it was at Star Wars Celebration, but season ticket holders still have to have a lottery to get in right at the beginning. So it's going to be difficult to get into at the first. It's going to be very popular, I imagine, and it just looks amazing. All of the props, all of the design, the sneak previews that they've been giving out. They showed some of it off here as you could sort of come in here and they would tell you about it, and you could sort of just tour this little area on the show floor. But it just looks, I can't wait. I'm a Disney World fan. I probably haven't been there in 10, 12 years, not since the kids were younger. But I always liked going. Even, like when my kids were 1 and 3, we went and it's not really for the kids at those ages.
At that point, no.
So I'm a fan. I can't wait. I already told my older kids who are now 21, 23, and 17 that we will be going, and they're all up for it too. So that's going to be cool. So hype for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. That was cool for them to have that there. And then just some more extra stuff. So if you like art, there's tons and tons of art. In fact, there was like an art show in addition to sort of shops selling their art. There was like an art show area of the floor where you could see just see art exhibits, paintings that people have done that weren't necessarily for sale. You could talk to some artists that have, better known, well-known artists that have been working in Star Wars, people that have been working on comic books and other kinds of Star Wars art over time. You could get autographs, you could get them to sign things for you. There was a bunch of that going on. There was art that you could buy. Here was one of the booths where there was a bunch of prints of fan-made art, but serious artist art prints that were being produced. This is a really cool life-size Darth Vader, Princess Leia area. I didn't see it, but Zen is reminding me in the chat room, there was a tattoo area apparently where you could get a tattoo done, a Star Wars tattoo. Uh, I didn't go and get one, but apparently that's a thing.
You're not a true fan.
Seema, would you have been in line for the tattoo to match your hot rod, your Star Wars car?
I do have a tattoo of my truck, my Star Wars truck.
That's so meta. It's
Yes.
it's a Star Wars tattoo, but only because it's a Star Wars truck that's tattooed onto me.
Right. Exactly.
So apparently the Walt Disney World version of Galaxy's Edge is opening on August 29th. What else do I have here to sort of wrap it up? A couple other cool costumes. I don't know why did this Togruta, why did she have this weird helmet sort of half off her head? She was sort of walking around like that. I don't know who she was supposed to be. There were some Dark Sisters. There was like mainstream Star Wars cosplayers. There was Old Republic Star Wars cosplayers. There was weird, obscure Star Wars cosplayers, and then there was the mashup, spoof, funny Star Wars cosplayers as well. This one I thought there was a couple really cool Padmes in the royal regalia. I thought this one, which was like a geisha, a crossover geisha Padme thing, which was really, really cool. And then they were selling Japanese style, like here you can see a kimono. That was really cool. And then, again, just a bunch of other weird stuff.
That model has a hat like my Sork's hat.
This with sort of the broom thing on top of the
on
top of the head. Yeah, exactly. That's what you should go on. You should get like big oven mitts and put a big put a broom on your head, and you could go as a Sork. I'm an Old Republic Sork. There was this. So this guy, he was a vegetable carver. Carving squash into Star Wars shapes.
Okay. And Star Wars vegetable carving. That's what his banner says.
That's what he did. That was his banner, and he carved. So here's like a Chewbacca made out of a acorn squash.
Butternut squash.
Butternut squash. Yeah. There was like a little sweet potato BB-8 over here.
Looks like a turnip R2D2.
Okay. I don't think they're for sale. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But that was the thing. So weird, wild stuff. Plenty of stuff. So as I said, we talked a little bit about some of it last week, some of this week. Be prepared for lots of weird, wild stuff in addition to the standard stuff, in addition to being able to see the stars and see the panels and go get autographs and get pictures with Ian McDiarmid and Hayden Christensen together. I think you had to pay like $250 if you wanted a picture with both of them. But it was both of them at once. Some of that kind of stuff was really cool. And then the fans themselves were were at least half of the exhibit as well, as far as I can tell. But the star of the show, I've got to say, on Monday, of course, was, as I said, the Chicago weather. Because what better way to round it out than Chicago getting in the spirit and recreating Hoth in April?
Yes.
For the whole convention. So Star Wars Celebration, you might have thought, hey, bad weather, we don't want to come back here. It's the opposite. You got some nice weather,
immersion,
but you got Hoth weather. We gave you all the weather. We gave you Alderaan weather. We gave you Hoth weather. If you stayed,
I think
a couple more days, you probably could have got to Tatooine.
In the distance there.
Well, you would have, but it froze before it reached the first marker. But you know what the temperature was on the inside of it. Lukewarm. It was lukewarm, Seema. It was lukewarm.
Yes, it was lukewarm.
It was lukewarm. So that is my roundup. Any questions? Anything you think I missed? I know a bunch of people have more Oh, there's one. No, there's actually real quick. Here, I'll leave you with this last one. These little go-karts, these kids could just drive around on this track around and around and around. I thought it was hilarious. So tons and tons of cool stuff for the kids, stuff for the families, stuff for the fans. It's a cool thing. I'm glad I went. How about you, Seema? Y'all hyped to start making your oven mitt costume for next time?
I am hyped for The Mandalorian and for episode 9 though.
Yes. Star Wars.
In fact, I have all the Star Wars movies. I'm thinking about watching them all again, just,
Yeah.
to get ready.
To get ready for episode 9. That's a good plan.
Mhm.
And then
And I've never watched the Clone Wars, so I'm thinking I'm pretty sure that's streaming somewhere. So I was gonna try and
it comes
watch
and
that
goes,
too.
but yeah, that Clone
Yeah.
Wars and Rebels, the animated series, are worthwhile. They're it's not your average cartoon that you might think they would be. There's it's quality. And then
I mean, especially since people have started speculating and using the word clone and emperor in the same sentence, I thought I want to learn more about the clone. I'll watch the Clone Wars.
yes. That is such a good laugh.
You do that really well, Max. That sounded almost like the emperor, almost just like the emperor.
And then Star Wars Celebration for next year is confirmed for Anaheim. If they promise to do something where you could maybe get to visit Galaxy's Edge, or maybe just go there anyway as part of it, I would potentially consider going there. I prefer Orlando. I prefer Disney World than Disneyland, and having to go all the way to California from Chicago, but that could be cool. So I'm thinking about that.
I like Disneyland. It's
You do?
cozier.
You like Disneyland better?
Mhm.
Cool.
Mhm.
I have actually never
then
been,
I
so
live
it's
in-
just my expectation. I'm just a big fan of Disney World.
And also, weather in California is so much better than the weather in Florida. I hope that doesn't inspire hate mail or something from Floridians. But I
'Cause
like
of the
the
humidity. Is that why?
yeah, the humidity and the heat and the bugs. I've been to Disney World and it was very hot and humid.
Mm.
And we went in April.
Yeah, I've been there in like July, but I like
Oh, July. Yeah, that would be pretty hot.
I like heat and humidity though. I'm kind of weird that way.
Ugh.
But yeah, so I think that's it.
Yeah.
And that's our wrap up of Star Wars Celebration. So yeah, cool. Hope you got a taste of it here in this episode and last episode and the AIE podcast. As I said, probably next week we'll be moving on, but I was happy to go. So I think with that, our EPC 289 droid can take this Star Wars Celebration Part 2 episode and get kicked out an airlock to broadcast it to all of you out there. Please keep up with us on Twitter at Max the Gray and at AIESEMA. And if you know any cool people that should be playing with us, because that's why we do this, to get more people in the game, in our guild, coming and hanging out, doing things like our MFNs and our mega events, tell them to come check us out. They can find us on Starforge. They can find our podcast on all the usual places like twitch.tv/newoverlords or newoverlords.com. They can find our guild at aie-guild.org. Includes a link there to our Discord where they could jump in and say, hey, Max, hey, Seema, hey, everybody. Why don't you give me an invite to your guild there, Republic or Imperial there on Starforge, because I would like to come play, because that's what we want to have happen. And to all of you out there, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.